Alright, how's it going? Today we are going to be doing Earthcrawl mines from a tank perspective. This is the storyline where you get a flamethrower, which is going to significantly out DPS my DPS, so when I'm not using my defensives, that's what I'll be using to help out with combat. Here's an example of that. When we get these large groups of little guys here, we can just sit there and let those come in. Here we move out of the fear swirl. But because we are in tank, we generate extra threat. And so things are good. I expect this to be an easy delve. It's entirely a pug. So I don't know how the other players are going to do from a skill perspective, but that's okay. Now I believe the flamethrower makes sense anytime we have more than 2 enemies alive. I think that our normal DPS will exceed it at two enemies. Again, move out of that fear. We want to hit our interrupts on the web spinner whenever we can, because that web bolt does hurt a little bit. We've got a dedicated healer as well as Bran who's healing. I'm not too concerned about it. But we still want to play sharp. Grab those interrupts where we can. And we're going to start slowly moving the web spinner towards the next room, so that we can be in position to talk with the lamplighter as soon as he dies, as soon as the group is topped up on health, and our healer has mana, which isn't, our healer's mana has not shifted at all. Make sure we pop the epic egg whenever it comes out as well. So they drop some web right in the way. We use our flamethrowers to clear that out. Things looking good. And then here they come in a large swarm, so we want to use the flamethrower. Burn those down real quick. So we're doing the same to tag everybody else coming in. Keep that flamethrower going. The little guys will not pose a threat to you. And again, on more than 2 targets, the flamethrower does about 150k DPS per target. My DPS as a tank is between 350 and 450k, depending on the group size. Alright, now that we have the casters out, though, we're probably want to stop doing that so that we have a little bit more availability for interrupt. And because even on a tier 8 group with a healer, they don't seem to be targeting me with those web bolts, but they'll chunk you pretty good. Or probably 25% of your health. Alright, we have another Fearmonger up as well. So you got that fearful streak. Or interrupt where we can. I'm going to target the Fearmonger and watch his bar for my for his next fear, and I'm going to try and use my incapacitating roar to interrupt it. Let us get a little bit of extra damage on it. Alright, got another round of enemies coming up. This one has a bunch of little guys, so we'll go ahead and turn on our flamethrower, melt through them. And in that case, we were taking some significant damage. So I went ahead and used a Frenzied Regeneration as well as a Regrowth proc in order to heal that back, to help out the healer a little bit. And we've got another round of enemies coming in. Flamethrower down the little guys until we get threat. We'll go ahead and taunt the big guy to make sure he's focused on us. Hit an interrupt where we can. It looks like my party's not really doing much in terms of interrupts and CCs, but their damage is pretty solid. And they are... they're not standing and stuff very often. I think I've only seen one fear come out, so a pretty typical pug group for a delve. Delves are not super dangerous content most of the time. Alright, so I'm sitting on a regrowth proc. I want to watch the timer on that. It looks like that is got 20 seconds left, so I can either let that expire or I can pop that on one of my party members there to spot heal a bit. I use a mouse over macro for that. So I just, that's bound to shift 6 for me. My 6 is my remove corruption, so I can cleanse poisons and curses. And they want to gather up the tokens, so we can go ahead and do that as well. Head on upstairs. See what kind of enemies await us up there. Alright, so here we have a group. Go ahead and use our flamethrower. Clear this stuff out. We'll keep using the flamethrower for a minute. Make sure we get some good threat. As soon as things start looking dangerous, we can jump to drop the flamethrower, start healing again. We've taken some damage. Hit our regrowth proc there. And then just burn this down normally. Again, on 2 enemies, I prefer to do my normal rotation. For damage. On 3, I switch to the flamethrower, but I do prefer to use the normal rotation for survival in any case. So if there's only 1 enemy, but I'm at 50% health or less, or I'm concerned about how much damage I'm taking, then at that point I will stop using flamethrower and switch to my normal rotation. So we'll go ahead and pick up all these enemies. I think we can do a little bit bigger pull here. Drop that. Our frenzied regeneration and barkskin. Barkskin has a really short cooldown, so it's kind of my first line of defense. I don't have an interrupt for that webbed Aegis. Out of the fear. Our CC is on cooldown. We've got this group under control, so we can switch over to flamethrower to get a bit of a damage boost going there. Alright, we got a nice stun there. That was solid. Well played, Bugs. Help out with some spot healing. We got Bran. Alright, let's carry on. Now, these dart casters can be pretty dangerous. So if we start taking some damage... Oh, got hit by the fear. I didn't even see it. There's so much telegraphing that goes on with their abilities that overlaps. Everything's so bright and flashy. That's one of my major complaints about delves. And there are some that are particularly nasty. So it's really easy when it's under consecration, under lunar beam, to miss those swirls. You really need to be watching for it. And the problem is you need to be interrupting the other one, so you kind of need to be watching both of them in order to... Yeah, see, there you go. You can barely see that. Alright, we have an empowered group up here. We'll need to watch for that. So the empowered groups I tend to open with the defensive. These guys in particular are going to attempt to ascend at 30% health. It's only going to be a problem if we do it on the captain, if we let that happen. So we're going to save our interrupt for that. Or our CC, rather. Everything else we will simply burn down. And he should probably fall in that as well. But we want to watch it and make sure he doesn't. So I went ahead and used Barkskin as we ran into the room. Now this guy does a wide swipe, which as a tank is not dangerous at all. But we do want to be mindful of it. Like we got some CCs from our friends. Okay, there's another one. Beautiful. Bugs are doing really solid in this delve. I've definitely had some where I am the only CC going off. So that's just something you have to sort of plan for. The good news is that the scaling is more about damage and less about number of enemies and therefore number of abilities. So as a tank, go ahead and pop our heal. So as a tank, you can actually take care of that for the most part. You know, if you can solo the delve, you can do all the CCs necessary in a group as well. Alright, we have another empowered group here. These ones are the ones that periodically get a damage absorb shield. And there's nothing you can do about that, but as a tank you need to be mindful that if that happens on the big guy, right at the beginning of the pull, that the CCs, or the DPS can rip off you, and will, you'll have to taunt in order to get threat back, because your damage won't reclaim threat. I would have expected a third Zekvir group. Is it? Ah, yes, it's the next one. Okay. Lost 3 groups in the place. Okay. So this next group has the Shadow Eruption, so when this guy dies, that will be... he will explode and we'll need to move out of it. That's the empowerment for this fella. Alright, so we had someone stand in a web that spawned a Marauder. Switch over to the flamethrower when he starts casting web launch so that we can quickly clear out any webs that spawn and move out of the explosion. Back into loot. Alright, time for the final boss. This boss is super boring as a tank. Go ahead and tag him, just tank him here at the middle of this thing. So if that curse does... The two things that you really care about interrupting are the Runic Shackles and the Curse of Agony. Otherwise, it's just about dodging these carts. So simply move out of the way there. Alright, we lost one. Interrupt Runic Shackles. The web bolts you're just going to have to heal through. If the curse comes out, then as a druid we can theoretically decurse that. I'm not sure why that wasn't going out. That's okay. Alright, we have move off the rail. So overall, this is, again, just a very, very boring fight from a tanking perspective. It's just making sure you get out of the fire rails. The boss isn't that dangerous once you hit a certain item level. I think I'm 601 right now. I think that starting around 580 was where my various spells and abilities were more than, you know, where I always had plenty of extra stuff. I think the first time I killed him on 8, I was at 575, and that was a little bit of a more hectic fight. By 580, you know, I never needed to hit my survival instincts. I could rely on my frenzied regeneration and regrowth procs for healing, and Bran, obviously. And then if you also have a healer in the group, that's all the better. Overall, pretty straightforward fight. Interrupts where you can, and that's it. And then that's it for the delve. Alright, thanks for coming along with us. Y'all have a good day.